أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I begin in the name of the Almighty God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, the one who has created everything in utmost perfection. And may the peace and blessings of the Almighty God be upon His pure and beloved Messenger, the peak of His creation, the symbol of humanity, the Holy Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alayhi wa alih. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And his immaculate progeny of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, especially the leader of our time, the awaited Savior, Al-Imam Al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah. May Allah hasten his reappearance and make us all amongst his sincere and dedicated servants. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Holy Quran in Surah An-Nahl, verse 97, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Man amila salihan min dhakarin aw untha wa huwa mu'minun. If a male or a female does any act of goodness, they live a life based on good deeds, and they have faith, what is the natural consequence of that? فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We shall grant them al-hayat al-tayyibah, a good life, a pleasant life. Now, who is describing this life here as being good and pleasant? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who created us, the one who manufactured us, is saying the consequence is you'll have a good life. Don't worry. You'll have a pleasant life. And we all want to have a good life, a pleasant life. فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We will give him a pleasant life. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Illuminate your hearts and minds with a very loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One of the dilemmas that we are faced with in the religion of Islam, as believers who truly want to implement the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, is that we have to balance between two important aspects of our lives. On the one hand, Islam encourages us to work very hard, to be the best of the best in your community. If you truly read the Holy Quran and the Hadiths describing believers, you find that a believer is working round the clock, non-stop. They work very hard to the point of exhaustion sometimes. If you look at some of the descriptions of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the descriptions of the companions of Al-Imam Al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu farajah, the 313, they work very hard to the point when they sleep, the hadith states they sleep like the one who's drowning. When they sleep for a few hours, their sleep is so deep because of exhaustion, because they're working so hard. Islam encourages hard work. And Islam encourages us to perfect our work as well, not to offer any work. In one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ states, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مِنَ الْعَامِلِ إِذَا عَمِلَ أَنْ يُحْسِنَ. Allah loves it for the person who's working, who's offering a deed, who's running a project, to do it in a good way, to perfect it, to do it properly, not to do a sloppy job when he is working. Once the Prophet ﷺ was burying Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Sa'd was a great companion, and the Prophet wanted to honor him by being the undertaker in his grave. The Prophet went inside his grave to assist with the burial. After Sa'd was buried, the Prophet took the blocks, the bricks, and the mud in order to seal the grave, in order to perfect how the grave was appearing, such that the Sahaba, the companions, noticed the Prophet is not leaving any gaps. Because you have bricks, you need something to cement the bricks. Now, they didn't have concrete back then that was readily available, so they would use mud. They noticed the Prophet is meticulously filling the gaps between the bricks with the mud, making the grave look perfect. It seems that the Sahaba, the companions, were puzzled, were surprised. Ya Rasulullah, why are you making the effort when you know that due to erosion, maybe in just a few months, in just a few years, this grave will not look the way it is today. It's going to erode. So why spend time on something that's going to erode? It seems that some had this objection or this thought in their mind. What did the Prophet ﷺ respond to them? The Prophet said, I know that this grave will be subject to erosion. I know, I'm aware of that. But Allah loves it that when one of His servants does a job, ahkamah, that he does it solidly. He does it in a good way. Right now, my job is to seal this grave. I have taken it upon myself to seal the grave of Sa'd. Allah loves it for me to do it in a good way, not to do a sloppy job. Oh yeah, this grave is going to be eroded in a few months, so who cares? Just put the bricks however. No. Do it properly, solidly. So Islam truly recommends us when we are running a project, when we are doing anything, you're constructing something, you're fixing something, you're making arrangements for an event, for you to really do a good job. Allah is watching you and He wants you. He's your employer and you're the employee. He wants you to do a good job. We human beings, when there is pressure on us, sometimes we do a good job. Because I want to impress my boss. I want to get that pay raise. I want to get that bonus. Maybe I'll do a good job. Maybe if others are monitoring me, I'll do a good job. I want people to praise me. I'll do a good job. But honestly, if you're all alone, no one's monitoring you, and there's nothing for you to fear, nothing for you to lose, would you do a good job? Some of us may not. Some of us will do a sloppy job if we're not being monitored. Allah wants us to always do a good job. The way you run your house, the way you run your center, the way you run your masjid, the way you run your committees, your business. Make sure that you have a plan, you have a strategy, and you're working efficiently. Islam truly places this responsibility on us. Work hard and perfect your work as much as you can. But at the same time, the dilemma is that when you work hard, you get stressed out. You have to deal with elevated levels of stress. If I work to the point of exhaustion, if I have to perfect my work, if I have to work hard, I will get exhausted. I will feel stressed out. So how is it that Allah wants me to be a believer who works hard but at the same time not to be stressed out? Because believers have ways of coping with their stress. Today, one of the biggest challenges we have in our lives is coping with stress. 55% of Americans deal with stress on a daily basis. They're stressed out. 35% of people in society are severely stressed out, where it's almost not bearable anymore. Every single day, 1 million Americans do not go to their jobs because of stress. Stress-related conditions and incidents. And when you look at professionals, they're also stressed out. We look at students studying to be professionals, they're stressed out. Have you seen students going to medical school? I've seen some of them, they feel suffocated. A pharmacist who's studying pharmacology, A lawyer who's studying law, they really get stressed out trying to, navigate through their college years and prepare for those tough, excruciating exams. It's not easy. It's extremely difficult to avoid stress or to cope with stress. But we live in a society that is increasing our stress load, and our younger generation is becoming more stressed than ever due to our lifestyle changes. So we as believers, how do we navigate? On the one hand, Islam says, look, dunya is not heaven. Don't relax and think you're on some cruise ship in this world and your goal is to achieve comfort. And at the same time, Islam tells me, work hard. So how do I stay sane? How do I cope with stress? Many times we forget how to cope with stress, especially the believers. Believers think, okay, I'm working hard, I'm fulfilling my obligations, and they don't make time to de-stress. So after a while, they might collapse. They get irritated. After a while, they lose patience. They take a different path, or they're just not happy with their life. How do we achieve that good life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised in the Quran? فَلَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا. You'll get that pleasant life. What do we learn from the prophets, from the imams, from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam to cope with stress? So in our discussion tonight, we will share some practical steps that help us cope with stress. And we have many who are dealing with stress, especially some of your youngsters who are in college. They truly suffer in order to graduate, and then the thought of having a career and how I will be successful in my career, there's a lot of stress on us. And sometimes the families are not helpful. Instead of helping us de-stress, they might add the stress on us. I know a young man, a 16-year-old boy, who wanted to commit suicide in the States. Why? Because he didn't get an A+ in school. He got an A-. When he went back home and his father found out that he got an A-, his father went down at him. His father really gave him a hard time. He rebuked him. He yelled at him. What is this? I raised you for you to get an A-. This is unacceptable. This is the last time you'll get an A-. He felt so stressed out, he became suicidal. What are you doing to your son? That's not how you handle it. Don't increase his stress. Help him overcome the stress and motivate him in positive ways for him to get a better grade. So sometimes the expectations that society places on us, our families place on us, actually causes stress in our lives. So how do we practically cope with stress? You cannot avoid stress. No person can avoid stress in this life. However, what we can do is cope with stress. How do I manage my stress? Believers are those who are excellent at stress management. Even though they've not taken a professional course or seen a therapist, but they know how to manage their stress. I will share with you the following recommendations. Number one, this is very effective when it comes to managing our stress. You need positive human interaction in your life. Today we're dependent on technology. We spoke about artificial intelligence and how that's replacing many humans in society. In the future, you will interact less and less with human beings. Studies have shown that when you have a face-to-face interaction with someone who's positive, that releases good hormones in your body. Hormones that allow you to de-stress. So if you feel that you're stressed out because of work, because of your career, your family obligations, because of studying, you need to surround yourselves with 1 or 2 or 3 positive people who are willing to listen to you, who give you good advice, whom you can just sit with and relax. Just look at their face. Even if they're not saying anything, as long as they have a positive attitude and positive character, that will help you de-stress. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Imam Ali gives advice to Imam al-Hassan. alayhi salam. He says there are people out there who have hatred. You know how you could counter their hatred? إِلْقَهُمْ بِالْبِشْرِ تُمِتْ أَضْغَانَهُم. The Imam says, meet them with a smiling face, with a pleasant face. You will kill their hatred. If you're stressed out, just sit with someone who smiles. Some people, believe me, they don't need to say anything. You look at their face, they're smiling. That helps you. The scene of seeing a human smile at you allows your brain to release hormones that help you cope with stress. Spend time with these people. You need that human element in your life. You need that human interaction. Now, don't be the annoying one who goes to that person. They're smiling and you're complaining and you have a frowny face. No, obviously they're going to get tired of you. You also learn from them. You go to them, you also smile. And by the way, when you smile yourself for a prolonged time, you feel better, you feel relaxed, you cope with stress. Now, I'm not telling you to act crazy, but seriously, on a serious note, if you're really stressed out, go in front of the mirror and smile for 5 minutes. Try it. Don't make sure no one sees you. They'll think you're mad. They'll think you're crazy, but it does wonders. When you smile for a prolonged period, you feel better because your body is trained to take cues from the organs. When the brain knows that the mouth is smiling, it releases good hormones in the body. It takes that as a sign, as an indication that you're not in danger. You're okay. You're happy. Because when you're happy, we smile. When you hear a joke, you laugh, you smile. When you see someone whom you love, you smile. So the brain associates smiles with good states. That's one way to de-stress. Honestly, if you're really stressed out, look at the mirror and just smile for 5 minutes. To the point where the muscles of your mouth begin to tire you. Usually that happens after a few minutes. This does wonders. Surround yourself with human faces, good people in society who smile, who have positive energy, who give you good vibes. That is an excellent way to de-stress. That's the first recommendation. The second recommendation, and this one is extremely important, is your diet, what you eat. What you eat impacts your stress, how you manage your stress. Islam gives us recommendations. For instance, if you'd like to cope with stress, if you're struggling with depression, especially mild depression, some of the severe cases of depression, they need professional help. First thing in the morning, when you're fasting or you're breaking your fast in the month of Ramadan, first thing, eat a spoonful of honey, raw, organic, real honey. That helps your body heal, not just spiritually, but also physically, because honey, subhanAllah, has spiritual healing too. That's why it's mustahab to eat honey. First thing in the morning, eat honey. That helps you cope with stress. Eating grapes. One hadith states, one of the prophets of Allah complained to Allah, Ya Allah, I feel stressed. I feel depressed. I feel sad and sorrowful. What do I do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, eat grapes. Grapes help you manage your stress. Keep that in mind. And modern science has discovered that as well. They've discovered that grapes have therapeutic properties that help you with depression. Yeah, now they tell you that 1 glass of wine a day is good for your heart. It's good for your mental well-being. They used to say that in the past. Now they're saying no amount of alcohol is actually good. Finally, scientists have admitted the reason why wine did have some of these properties is not because of the alcohol content in it, because of the grapes. They don't want to admit that the same effect exists in grape juice. They tell you wine. Well, why wine? What's special about wine? Because of the grapes, it makes you feel better. Yes, drink grape juice. You won't get the negative effects of alcohol. Just looking at it from a merely health perspective. Eating grapes is very helpful. Also, some of the ointments and oils that the Ahlul Bayt have recommended. The Prophet ﷺ, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt have told us the best ointment is duhnul banafsaj, the violet or viola ointment, oil. That does wonders for you if you're stressed out. Try to get some of this oil and basically massage your head and some of your body parts with it. This allows you to calm, to relax, to manage stress. Modern science has also confirmed that. You'll see many studies about the therapeutic effects of this oil. Duhnul banafsaj, the viola or the violet oil. It has these calming effects. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the solution. The Prophet and all the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, they would regularly use this oil. They would regularly use this ointment. It helps you de-stress. Remember, they had stressful lives too. Yes, they would resort to Allah and they would seek spiritual methods, but also these natural remedies are extremely effective. So your diet is extremely important. That's the second recommendation. The third one, exercise. I know we always hear it. Every doctor tells you to exercise, but the reality of it, most of us don't exercise. I'm guilty myself. Sometimes we just don't find the time to exercise. Exercising is extremely important. Allah has created the human body to go through some sort of physical work and labor. Today we live in a society such that most of us can live our lives sitting on a desk, run our business sitting on a desk. These days, not even a desk, on your couch, on your sofa, in the living room if you're working from home. That's not healthy for your body. You need to get the blood to circulate in your body. You need that exercise. Make it part of your daily schedule. No matter what, I need those 20 minutes of walking, for instance. Take a nature walk. Go and exercise. That helps you de-stress. One reason why there's so much stress is many people do not have the opportunity to properly exercise, to take a walk. Over time, that adds up, that builds up, and we fail in managing our stress. Look at the Prophet, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. All of them would work hard with their hands. They would go through toil because that is mustahab, that is recommended. And subhanAllah, the religion of Islam gives you rituals to always stay in motion. You cannot spend a day according to Islamic law without committing a sin if you're just sleeping on your couch. Get up, do wudu, let the blood circulate in your face and your arms. The acts of salah, getting up, doing the sujood, doing the ruku', that is a type of exercise. Traveling, going to the hajj, working. If you look at the recommendations in Islamic law, they encourage believers to have some physical activity. Having physical activity is extremely helpful for your health, even if you're professionals. Today, one of the biggest groups of people who are going through elevated rates of stress are the professionals. The doctors, the surgeons. If you look at the rates of suicide amongst some professionals, like some surgeons, it's higher than the average population. Why? Because of the stress. Sometimes they work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. They're always on call. That adds a lot of stress. A 10-minute walk a day helps you. Breathing exercises are extremely helpful to manage stress. And the best time for that is Fajr. After the Fajr, the dawn prayer, before sunrise, spend 5-10 minutes inhaling, exhaling slowly. Take a deep breath and say, La ilaha illallah. Try it from tomorrow. I challenge anyone who does this and does not feel better afterwards. Not 10 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Inhale, exhale at Fajr time. There's certain barakah that Allah puts in the environment at Fajr time. Certain angels descend at Fajr time. The Imam ﷺ states there is a certain rizq, sustenance. Allah will only give it to you if you're awake at Fajr time. These breathing exercises are very helpful to the health of your body. Say, La ilaha illallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah al-Ali al-Azim. There's no might, there's no power except by the great God. The hadith say it 7 times. It's recommended to say it 70 times as well. This will remove the stress from your life. It allows you to cope with stress. And that's why today people are resorting to yoga and meditation. Because it does include mindfulness. It does include breathing exercises. Now we are critical to some aspects of yoga. Some of the positions that they do that mimic, for instance, Buddhist acts of worship towards their idols. We are critical of that. But part of yoga is physical exercises. Part of it is breathing. That is extremely helpful. You know, the dhikr that we have in Islam is a form of purposeful breathing. Because when you're doing the dhikr, you're actually prolonging your breath. And subhanAllah, there are du'as that tell you keep saying the dhikr until you lose your breath. Dua Abu Hamza al-Thimali. Have you read Dua Abu Hamza yet in the month of Ramadan? Early on in the beginning of the dua, you come to say, my Lord, Ya Rabbi. The hadith states, keep saying, Ya Rabbi, ila an yanqati'a nafasuk. Keep saying, Ya Rab, until you lose your breath. You can't hold your breath anymore. So take a deep breath and keep saying, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi, Ya Rabbi. Keep saying it until you cannot hold your breath anymore. That's a beautiful breathing exercise that allows you to de-stress, but at the same time, it reminds you of Allah. Now imagine when you're de-stressing and you remember Allah as the source of all good energy in the universe. What kind of wonders does that do to you? Believers sometimes forget that. We forget that dhikr is a form of purposeful breathing exercises. So the next time you do the dhikr, keep that in mind. Say it in a way that allows you to soothe your soul and allows you to lower your stress levels. So you have the diet, you have the human-to-human interaction, face-to-face interaction. You have acts of exercise that are extremely helpful. Now, what about music? Music, listening to songs, is that helpful in reducing stress? Modern society, what does it claim? What does it say? Yes. Modern society tells you a great way to de-stress is through music. That's why today you have people glued to their earpods or AirPods. They're glued to them. You don't know what they're listening, what they're hearing, and they're listening to their favorite songs day in, day out, 24/7. They sleep with their AirPods in their ears. Today you look at the younger generation, you check on them at night, they're sleeping. If a bomb explodes in the house, nobody will find out. Believe me, they plug their ears. Some emergency happens, they won't know. They can't react to it properly. Always plugged in their ears, listening to music. SubhanAllah, you go to the gym, you want to exercise. Music. They bombard you with music. Is this all helpful? More and more studies are showing that prolonged exposure to music, to singing, is not helpful to your mental health. You think it's de-stressing you when it is not, when it's merely an addiction. Most types of music and songs are harmful to your mental health. They are not beneficial to your mental health. Initially, you might feel relieved when you're listening to your favorite song and you want to dance and you're in that party mode. Maybe you think you're relaxing and you're de-stressing, but in the long term, it's damaging you. Just like a drug. You take a drug in the beginning, you feel high, you feel good, but then you go through withdrawal. Similar effects, according to scientific studies, are found when people listen to some of their favorite songs. The University of Miguel, they had a study on certain types of music and how that music impacts the brain. They realized in that study that listening to certain songs in that study, that listening to these songs activated the same places in the brain that drugs would activate. This is proven by science. Never resort to your songs and to popular culture and to music to de-stress. It is not an effective way for you to de-stress. If only over time it affects your mental health. You become more depressed. And if you want evidence for anyone who doubts what I'm saying, no, say it. I've listened to music. It makes me feel good. Okay, fine. Go look at the highest rates of suicide, depression, and anxiety in society. Where do you find them? Musicians and singers. Why? In the UK, 20% of the people suffer from depression, the average population. Musicians and singers in the UK, that's at 74%. Another study says 69%. Fine, let's say 70. 70% of musicians and singers in the UK struggle with depression, anxiety, and suicide. Why? Why? You're the richest of people. You're dancing all day. You should be happy. You should be like a potato on your couch, no stress in your life because you're living music 24/7. That's not the reality. And subhanAllah, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, 14 centuries ago, he stated, وَكَثْرَةُ الْإِسْتِمَاعِ إِلَى الْغِنَاءِ يُورِثُ الْفَقْرِ. The Imam stated, prolonged exposure to ghina and singing and music leads to poverty. What type of poverty? Spiritual poverty, mental poverty, psychological poverty. You have the money of the world, but it's not going to make you happy. Music and singing are not effective strategies to deal with stress, my dear brothers and sisters. And our youngsters need to see these facts, these statistics. I know they'll argue with you. Why is music haram? Show them the study. Tell them, Habibi, go explain to me why 74% of musicians and singers in the UK suffer from depression, anxiety, and suicide, and then we'll discuss why it's halal and haram. You go and write an essay about that. Write a paragraph about that. These days, everywhere, we're bombarded with this music. You go to the restaurant, there's music. You go to the mall, there's music. On the airplane, there's music. What kind of lifestyle are we living? What's this obsession with music? You go to the gym, everyone's like a zombie listening to their music. This is one reason why our society is suffering in its mental health. And no, that's not helping us manage our stress. Every year, with new devices and new songs, our stress is going up. Just look outside and you'll see that it's not working. It's not working. If music was helpful, we should see the stress levels going down, but they're not going down. And that is an indication that we have to look for alternatives, other ways for us to de-stress. Another recommendation to de-stress, my dear brothers and sisters, and that's very important. I've addressed this every year, but it's important for us to remind ourselves, is to volunteer. Volunteer. Outside of your work, volunteer. An institution, a charity, a project, a committee. Volunteering and knowing that you're making a difference in the world helps you manage your stress. There's nothing more fulfilling than to know that you're making a difference. You cannot do that, at least sponsor an orphan. An orphan that you can personally stay in touch with. You know, some orphanages, some charities will accept your monthly sponsorship, but you don't know who the orphan is. Some institutions or charities, they give you the opportunity to connect with the orphan, to see their picture, to know them, to send them letters. They'll send you letters back. Do that. Believe me, every time you get a letter from that orphan thanking you, updating you on their life, that allows you to manage your stress. Because it reminds you that you've made a difference. We need these activities in our lives to stay sane, my dear brothers and sisters. None of us should say, no, I'm strong. I can manage it. I can go 15 hours a day working. I'll be fine. I'm a mu'min. I'm a believer. You need these activities. Quality time in your life. Quality time with your family. Quality time. At least once a week. Spend several hours with your family, putting all the gadgets away. Put them in a locker where you can't have access to them. And just have a nice family fun night. Where you do something interesting together, you play together. That brings you closer together as a family. But I'm telling you, because of the way we're handling our families, Many today, especially the younger generation, they're not interested. Tell him Saturday night, 3 hours with mom and dad in the living room. Oh, this is going to be the worst weekend. I don't look forward to it because we're not handling it properly. Make it exciting, make it fun. You, the father, you, the mother, go do research. Come with interesting facts, interesting stories, interesting experiences, new halal games. Keep them interested. That way your children will love to be around you, will love to spend time around you. But when the children sit, the father is thinking of politics, the mother is thinking of her favorite Ramadan show, or they're busy with their Facebook, with their WhatsApp, they're not going to be interested. Or the father just looks at you with a straight face. He's not even interested in what's happening in your life. That's intimidating for some of our youngsters. Have a family night every single weekend. Make it memorable, make it enjoyable, spend on it, yes. That's quality time with your family. That allows you to de-stress. Take your family to ziyarah. I encourage every one of you who has a family, go on a family vacation to ziyarah, to umrah. You know what that does? I see it myself. Every single year at ziyarah, I see groups who come with their families. This year in December, a family came from Michigan with 4 of their children, all ages. The husband, the wife, and the children, they came for ziyarah. They told me we had the opportunity to go to Florida, Myrtle Beach, to these vacation places. We said, no, we're coming to ziyarah this year. They were so excited. They were so happy. They went back. Until now, they're talking about it. Beautiful time together. Go to ziyarah, my dear brothers and sisters. Don't say, I don't have the financial resources. You live here in Canada, you have the financial resources. Just be more responsible with your finances. Save, don't waste resources, you'll be fine. You know how much we waste? We've talked about this before, how much we waste. We waste half of the resources that we buy. 40% of the food that you buy ends up in the trash. Official statistics. Save that, you can go to ziyarah. Go open your drawer and see how many gadgets you have in your closet that you've not used for years, Habibi. You'll see how much we've wasted. We waste a lot of resources. Simply save and you'll make room and time and money in order to go for ziyarah. Going for ziyarah has an amazing impact to allow you to de-stress. You come back invigorated. You come back energized. These are extremely important mechanisms for us to cope with stress. Don't let the stress get to you, my dear brothers and sisters. And remember, you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just think about the beauty of your Lord, the rahmah of your Lord. That in itself allows you to de-stress. Sometimes if you feel confused, your life is falling apart, say to yourself, look at Allah, how He crafted the night sky, how He crafted these beautiful hills, the trees, the world of plants, the world of animals. I have a Lord who has taste, as we say it in our common language. Allah is beautiful. Let that beauty make you smile. Let that beauty de-stress you. I have a Lord, and my Lord is the source of all power and richness in the universe. If right now you're really stressed out, and someone comes and gives you a check of $10 million, be very honest with me. Be very honest. Honesty is good, remember. Even if it might be awkward, it's good. If right now someone gives you a check of $10 million, and let's say you're going through stress, how many of you feel that your stress will immediately go down? Can I say a show of hands? Yes, be honest. It's okay. We're all like that. I'll raise my hand too. If you give me $10 million, immediately my stress will go down to 0. See, a check has the power to decrease your stress. Why? Because you have hope in that check. That money can buy me things. That money can get me things. I can upgrade my car, my business, my house. Money gives you hope. Money that you spend and goes. As a mu'min, talk to yourself and say this to yourself. If one check brings my stress down so quickly, is Allah less than that check in my eyes? Think about it. Allah, the King of the universe, who created this universe, who created all the resources that we have. Allah is less than that check? Think about it. You have Allah. You have a treasure. Ya kanzal fuqara. You just read in Dua al-Jawshan a few nights ago. In one of the passages of Dua al-Jawshan, you say, Ya kanzal fuqara. O treasure of the poor ones. And we're all poor, as the Quran states. Allah is the ghani, He's the rich. وَأَنْتُمُ الْفُقَرَاء. Oh people, you're all poor. Even the rich is poor. Compared to Allah, you're nothing, you're poor. Ya Kenz, see Allah as a treasure every day. Allah is my treasure. Remind yourself, that de-stresses you. One miserable check on paper gives me so much happiness and Allah doesn't. Maybe I need to see Allah in a different way. I need to remind myself He's the source of beauty, He is the source of power, He is the source of richness in this universe. All of this helps us, my dear brothers and sisters, to de-stress and have a focused life. And just contemplate on these du'as in the month of Ramadan. When you read Dua Abu Hamza al-Thimali, when you read As-Sahif al-Sajjadiyya. But Dua Abu Hamza, if you just stop at one passage and think for 2-3 minutes, the amount of positive energy it gives you is amazing. Ilahi bidhikrika asha qalbi. Imam Zain al-Abidin says, Oh Allah, through your remembrance, my heart lives. Through your remembrance, my heart beats. وَبِمُنَاجَاتِكَ بَرَّدْتُ أَلَمَ الْخَوْفِ فِيهِ. And oh Allah, through your munajat, through speaking to you, I have cooled, frozen the pain in my heart. These passages truly inspire us. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these last days of the month of Ramadan to inspire us with His rahmah, with His mercy, such that we truly have the capacity and the power to reduce our stress. Stress is one of the biggest killers. You know that? Ask any heart doctor. One of the causes of heart attacks, heart failures, heart diseases is elevated stress. Prolonged exposure to stress destroys us. But through these mechanisms, hopefully, inshallah, we can lower those stress levels and be focused and be thankful to Allah.